Hello everyone, and welcome to Galaxy 89 Cars. Today, thanks to the team at Super Futura, I'm bringing you exterior and interior in-depth tour of the hyper-rare and hyper-fast Aston Martin Vulcan. The Vulcan was first conceived after two senior members at Aston Martin decided they wanted to create a more potent version of their flagship, the 177. Its name was a dedication to the 1950s British bomber, the Avro Vulcan, that made its final flight at the time of the Aston Martin's inception. This track-only weapon is limited to just 24 models worldwide and had an initial sale price of around 1.8 million. It is constructed from a new 180kg carbon fibre monocoque and chassis based on that of the 177. It features a new scuttle and doghouse subframe for the roll cage, transmission, suspension and downforce produced by the rear wing. Its panels are also carbon fibre, resulting in a total weight of 1,350kg. Its front mid-mounted engine lies beneath that long front carbon fibre bonnet. To open, locate the latches on either side and press. The bonnet can then be lifted forwards. The mechanism holding it up is comprised of two pistons and two hinges, seen here. Its engine is a highly modified version of that found in the Aston Martin Racing GT3 car. The 6-litre naturally aspirated V12 has been enlarged to 7 litres and features many new parts, including a new block and pistons. The engine can be set to 3 power modes: 550 brake horsepower, 675 brake horsepower and 820 brake horsepower, with 575 pounds-feet or 790 Nm of torque at max output. At the front of the engine bay, there are large carbon vents that help to release hot air from the radiators below and send air over the top of the car for added downforce. Between these is the carbon-formed engine oil pot. There are large carbon air intake pipes on either side that feed air from the front intakes to the carbon manifold above. On the left side are reservoirs for the other fluids. The Vulcan suspension is comprised of double wishbone at the front and independent double wishbone at the rear. The dampers are 4-way adjustable with blue for bump and red for rebound. Before putting the bonnet down, we can take a look at the cooling vents on either side that help to send air laterally across the car to create a more balanced airflow and reduce pressure in the front wheel arches. The car sits on 10-spoke, 19-inch front and rear, centre-locking forged alloys made by Aptec. Stopping power for the phenomenal output is provided by Brembo carbon ceramic racing discs and performance pads, with a Bosch M4 adjustable ABS that can be set 11 ways on the steering wheel. Now we've finished the model overview, we can start the in-depth exterior tour from front to back. The wide gaping mouth functions for high airflow and follows typical Aston design language, but sits closer to the floor than any other at 40mm at its lowest. The front splitter juts out quite significantly and features a small vertical plane on each edge. The leading edge here in blue can be customised to any colour during the initial specification. Behind the grille that protects the radiators and intakes are vertical struts that divide intake sections from radiators and also help to provide further rigidity. There is also a small towing eye protruding just off-centre. Above are the LED and xenon headlights that facilitate nighttime driving and also contribute to the Vulcan's ability to be road homologated. The iconic wings badge sits centrally and can also have a bespoke specification, including pure carbon fibre. There are main lines that run on either side of the bonnet, with barriers created over the wheel arches. These provide a dynamic aesthetic, but also direct air laterally. Other than these are the F1-esque nose that appears to dive under the panel in the centre of the bonnet. On either side of this are the large carbon vents mentioned earlier. Moving to the sides, we find the aero and cooling vents and engine release levers touched on earlier. Moving back, the windscreen design was inspired by the form of a helmet's visor with how it wraps around the edges of the car. Above, the carbon roof slopes down to a glass panel I will look at shortly. Moving down, the wing mirrors can be easily attached or detached for transport. They are slim but offer good visibility, and they are also electrically adjustable. The side of the Vulcan features key components. Firstly are the aero fins, which assist with lateral air movement, sucking high pressure air from the front wheel arches. Next is the flat underbelly of the car. Just like in F1, this design, in addition to Venturi tunnels, helps to create more efficient and controlled airflow under the car. The Inconel and titanium exhaust system runs along the side of the vehicle under the carbon and Inconel vented covers. It is purposefully located here to prevent air disruption of the rear diffuser and limit the exit time of exhaust gases. Above, the windows are slight and sit quite far back due to the windscreen design. Below, the integrated door handle can be found. This handle isn't specific to the Vulcan and can be found on other Astons. Moving back from the exhaust, there are vents built into the rear wheel arches. These exist to reduce air pressure and aid cooling, as are the vents found at the rear. The arches themselves are quite prominent and are made even more so by the cutaways. The fuel tank can be accessed through refueling by firstly unlocking and then raising the latch. The glass cover here can be removed by taking out the 4 pins, one in each corner. It exposes a small carbon area at the rear of the roll cage. At the bottom of this is a slim air intake. Next is the unmissable rear wing that doesn't actually contribute the largest proportion of the car's downforce. That is the underbody diffuser. It's formed from carbon fibre, features side planes and a slightly smaller wing section between the 2 struts. Astonishingly, but maybe not wholly unsurprising, the car creates more downforce than it weighs. At 100 miles per hour, the car generates 324 kilograms, but at Vmax, which is 360 kilometers per hour or 224 miles per hour, the car generates 1,362 kilograms of downforce. As with the sides, there is also a lot going on at the rear. The innovative rear lights are formed around the semicircular protrusion at the rear and are the first of their kind. Each is illuminated by its own internal LED. There are small cutaways on either side with a hexagonal honeycomb vent centrally. Moving down, we find the connecting valve for the car's air jack system by Krontec. Below and centrally is a small LED strip brake light. The huge rear diffuser is last. Laterally, it's comprised of 3 wings, the top 2 controlling air from the rear wheel arches, with the bottom flaps streamlining air running from under the car. The 6-speed sequential gearbox is manufactured by X-Track and is controlled solely by controls on the steering wheel. The total setup, including its casing, only weighs around 70 kilograms. The key is a little surprising in the Vulcan, as it's actually the steering wheel. It comes in this protective box. Given the rather large price, I'd hope so too. The box is fastened on either side by latches that are easily unfastened. Once this is done, the lid can be opened. Designed in collaboration with BF1 Systems, the wheel is light as it is constructed largely from carbon fibre. On the front there are controls for chat, lights, the ABS scroller, screen selector, start, petrol, traction control scroller, neutral, pit speed limiter and wiper speed control. At the rear we see the pin system that allows the wheel to be easily connected. Small buttons at the top are for the indicators, with gear change paddles on either side. The Vulcan doors open up in the quintessentially Aston swan motion, so it raises at a 12-degree angle. Here I show the interior with the wheel, but later I will show how to attach and detach it. The interior is of course very stripped out, but there is also a strong focus on safety with the carbon fibre monocoque, roll cage and GT style bucket seats. However, there is leather, which adds a small taste of luxury. There's no POV tour here, so I'll start my in-depth interior tour with the doors. They are formed from carbon fibre for weight saving and rigidity, and feature no controls other than the minimalistic leather pull to open the doors. Ingress and egress is made more challenging by the addition of the exhaust to the side. However, the sill area itself isn't that wide or low. The lateral area of the roll cage, however, does make getting in and out quite challenging. As this is a track car, there are no carpets or mats, so the footwells are sparse yet purposeful. Now sitting in the driver's seat, we see how the roll cage is formed around the door area with the padding above. Moving inward, we find the dial used to control air conditioning speed. This is what the driver sees without the wheel in place. There are 3 open ports of ventilation with the main fixation port centrally. The wheel can be fixed easily and requires only a simple twist to firmly locate. The moulded carbon screen area ahead features LED gear change lights with the carbon dash helping to bring the dynamic exterior aesthetic into the car. To turn on the ignition, disable the kill switch, turn ignition to 1 and press the start button. Using the I button on the wheel, we can scroll through the different displays. The first gives generic information such as speed, fuel used, traction control settings, and lap info. The second provides gear information and tyre pressure. The third screen displays information on temperatures, pressures, and voltage, with the final screen providing a far more detailed insight into the car setup and status. Moving rightwards, the first dial is for the ignition setup. The dial to its right adjusts the car's power setup, 550, 675, or 820 brake horsepower. Moving down to the central column, we find a small switch array. These are for, from top to bottom, hazard lights, lights, wipers, interior lighting and exterior mirror adjustment. All of these aluminium switches produce a very satisfying click to hear and feel. Wipers are selected with a turn to either the left or right, and then the usual 360-degree adjustments can be made. Next to these are the red kill switches. A small section of leather upholstery takes us down and along to where we find the socket for the headset. And above this are the electrical components to adjust the torque functions. Furthest up, we get a very slight view out of the rear port window. Moving back down and across, we get a better view of the carbon tunnel and central column. The passenger gets a simple, non-adjustable air vent, and the dock for the trickle charger. As with the driver's side, the passenger footwell is very sparse and comes with a fire extinguisher. The Recaro bucket seats are made from carbon fibre and are padded with leather. They are surprisingly comfortable. Four-point Scroth racing harnesses are installed for added safety. There is no tilt function as these are carbon buckets, but the seats can be moved back and forth by pulling the small tab to the side. Moving back up briefly, we can take a look at the central portion of the roll cage with its padding. The cage is constructed from aero-grade steel and weighs 32 kilograms in total. It is also fully FIA approved. There is a rear view mirror in the standard position with fairly unobstructed visibility despite the large rear wing. Finally, the wheel can be removed by pulling the gold plate backwards at the top and bottom and pulling outwards. As it isn't heavy, this process is quite straightforward. So that concludes my tour of this very rare Aston Martin Vulcan. Thanks again to Super Futura for the opportunity. Please find all their contact details in the description below. Please subscribe for the latest content, and until next time, thanks for watching.